Hello YouTubers, this is Mullen007 here. Today I'm going to be making the first of hopefully many analysis videos. I'm going to be talking about my favourite villains from my favourite movie of 2014, and Rainbow Rocks, the Dazzlings. First off, Adagio Dazzle, the main villain. The instant I heard her voice actor Kazumi Evans and I saw that, well, she was the main villain in the entire film and heard her singing voice, I really wasn't quite sure what to think of Adagio. She didn't look all that scary, and in all honesty her hair was the biggest attraction. I don't quite know how I managed to misjudge her, but of course after the film came out I was left a little mixed. At first scene I thought she was more of a bitchy moany type character, but then we got to the later scenes where she shows she really does have the brain power that can help her in more scenes. She doesn't play every card like a normal villain would. She just keeps always an eyes on all details, and once she finds out what she wants to find out, she'll use it to her advantage. This is really, really clever and cunning on the writer's part, because never have I seen such a character this manipulative or cunning, I don't know, ever. This is the first time I've ever seen a villain actually do some real damage whenever they finally have power, and we have Adagio to thank for that. And considering how gloriously she takes it later on in some scenes, it shows really how sadistic and how much of a degree of sadism Adagio has. Just look at her in some of the later scenes when they've got victory. She is enjoying every inch of this food that she is getting, and she's going to keep eating it until she gets all that she needs and wants. Really, it is quite intimidating when you just look at her, the way she holds herself, moves and hypnotizes. All she has to do is say one tiny word in the snap of her fingers and boom, you'll do what she wants you to do. Easily the most intimidating villain, and also possibly quite the creepiest. She does play also a big role in the three trinity of all villains, of course. She isn't just the leader who does everything. Arya and Sonata take a huge part in that, but what do they contribute? Second off, Arya Blaze, the slightly quiet and moody siren, but with good reason. Arya seems to be the more mean-spirited of the Dazzlings, with good reason of course. Every time Sonata tries to make a silly remark or gets a silly remark wrong, she instantly blames her, pulls her down and calls her the worst. And it's the same with Sunset Shimmer. But why? She seems to be the very dark and more formidable force that pushes the band together. She keeps balance in the band by making sure that nobody messes up the plan, and she also crushes down every other inch of, well, denial that they will come across. Goodness knows how harsh she must be to Sonata in her spare time. But it sees that she is also a very independent person and tries to be a leader of the band, showing she isn't truly respected. This may show signs that she's not quite doing her job, and that Adagio is mainly taking all the cards. She also shows a lot of joy whenever she is belittling people, showing that she really is quite as sadistic and cold as her leader. She does have a hand in manipulation, but not quite as much. Her relationship with Sonata truly demonstrates that she does not want to be pushed, and if you do push her, she will not be happy about it. Next we have Sonata. Next we have everyone's favourite siren, Sonata Dusk. And of course she seems to be the most dumb and dim-witted of the entire siren community. But of course there is another good reason why she is like this. Every time she is on screen she always causes a fuss or any sort of attention seeking, and in all honesty there probably is a good reason for that. Like in the Taco Tuesday scene, she is seen to have somewhat of a more independent character. She really wants to do what she wants to do and doesn't really seem to care what anyone else thinks. But in her band manipulation, she of course tries to cause a scene to keep all the eyes on the Dazzlings. For example, in the first battle of the band sequence, the instant we see them performing, she gets Flash Sentry's attention while he's not looking, making her the look at us type character. But of course she is shown to have more signs of independence than a character, showing she is rather carefree and doesn't really care what goes on in the band, and doesn't really enjoy her job as much as doesn't really care about it. She is shown to be rather out of it, as she doesn't really pick up on any good situations, and just acts herself, and no matter what people say, she just throws it back at them because she really doesn't know what else to say. But either way, it still makes her a hell of a lot funnier and more enjoyable as a character. But what is it really that brings the three of these magical ladies to life? Is it their chemistry that they share on screen and the fact that Arya and Sonata act a lot like teenagers most of the time? Is it their brilliant and bedazzling songs that really do have you hypnotized and on the edge of your seat every time you watch? What is it about these three that really makes them surprising? Actually, the more I think about it, the more I think of how really unique they are in terms of character and voice. Each one has a very distinctive, slightly stereotypical character. The grump, the leader, the idiot. Yeah, it doesn't scream Azula, May and Ty Lee at all, does it? But what really makes these three unique is how surprising they are. When you listen to Sonata's voice in the singing out, it's actually very deep and very sultry. That's probably because the voice actress Madeline Merlo, who does the singing role for Sonata, has a very deep and sultry voice. This adds a lot of harmony to the music, but also adds a lot of surprise. Aria's voice is very beautiful and soprano-ish, which also makes sense because, well, why wouldn't she? She's a very quiet and majestic person who really has a lot under wraps. And it makes sense with her character. Also, again, because Shiloh Sherity, who does the singing for the character, has a very high-pitched voice. A lot of people seem to get this mixed up, but they do have the right around. Go to the YouTube videos. But what really brings these three to life is just their chemistry and their backstory. They're really shown to be quite deadly and quite intimidating, yet really they're just sort of normal people. Well, normal sirens, slash ponies, slash whatever the frick they're supposed to be. But what I really like is really how funny they are and how enjoyable they really make their screen time. What really breaks the counters though is just that they maybe have a little less going for them than some other villains. Yeah, they're just forces and they just seem like stereotypes, but when you look at the raps, they really do have an insignificant, well, slightly less insignificant character traits. It really brings them to life and makes them look quite more interesting and slightly more fascinating as characters, which really brings the popularity to life. Am I just rambling? I think so. But what do you guys think of these three? Do you think they really are just villains for the sake of being villains, or do you think there's a little more to them? Comment below, let us know. I shall see you guys in my next video.